Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and I am here to tell you that the crackdown predicted by yours truly has begun, and now, all of a sudden, it is completely unsafe on this platform to disagree with the trans's narrative.
Media Matters took the time to review dozens of videos from back 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, publishing their findings under a headline promising to reveal my sordid past. Now, these institutional efforts to silence me and us have continued all the way up to this week. So in fact, less than a day before I was hacked, we received word from YouTube that I had committed a series of alleged violations of their terms of service and also of their ad partnership guidelines, which will now lead to my demonetization and potentially being banished forever from the platform. Now, YouTube's ploy, what we have to understand about big tech, their ploy is to be intentionally vague about their guidelines. They won't tell you. They'll tell you you violated something, but they won't tell you exactly what it was or how that thing violates the guideline, because they want to afford themselves the latitude to demonetize and deplatform you whenever they feel like it. And that's really what's going on here. Of course, they just selected me and they said, well, it's your turn, and we're going to look for a reason.
For those of you who haven't heard, Matt Walsh, creator at the Daily Wire, the star of the documentary What is a Woman, has been officially demonetized on YouTube, and the purpose or the reason behind that demonetization is due to the fact that Matt Walsh won't call one Dylan Mulvaney by the preferred pronouns of Dylan Mulvaney. I actually don't know what those preferred pronouns are. I don't know if we're dealing with a they situation or she situation, because I don't actually cover Dylan Mulvaney all that much. And who could have seen this coming except for me personally and me specifically, because I called this a couple of weeks ago when the whole Mr. Beast's friend becoming a transis thing was popular, and I noticed the indicators of rule changes, stricter enforcement, and outright bans. And of course, what I'm talking about is the fact that there are a series of corporate creators on YouTube.com that you need to pay attention to so you could stay ahead of the curve when it comes to things like this. Now, when I say I called it, I refer to this tweet, which reads as the follows from April 13th, 2023. Now that the YouTube Gestapo creators are all starting to drop hit pieces against those who have any criticism of Mr. Beast's trans's friend, which is what happens right before we get new rules and or someone is going to get banned, I just want to say that this person is stunning and brave. And for those of you who don't understand the connection, essentially what YouTube.com does, in my experience, is they essentially run their propaganda through a few select creators, Philip DeFranco, H3H3, and very many notable others. They do hit pieces that touch on the exact same points, use the exact same verbiage, cite the exact same sources, and then wouldn't you know it, shortly after they lay the groundwork for YouTube as a whole, all of a sudden we end up with bans, restrictions, or similar. Now, to be clear, I don't know whether or not this is a chicken or the egg situation. I don't know whether or not DeFranco and H3 and all the creators in this category are just preferred by YouTube, so when they decide to coordinate, that ends up leading to YouTube taking action. I just have that weird feeling that it goes the other way, because when you're a large enough YouTube creator, you get somebody in the company that you can be in contact with, and I believe whenever they're trying to do a change or justification for that change, they feed the stories in maybe not so subtle ways to these specific creators. And by the way, one of the greatest examples of this was the banning of Andrew Tate. Now, whatever you think of Andrew Tate, don't really care at this moment. But what I find interesting is that all of these creators seemingly dropped the same exact hit piece, citing the same exact weird news story right before he was banned. And of course, this was that weird Reddit thread from a third grade teacher who said, "Oh no, my poor baby student boys, I can't control them because they watch too much Andrew Tate. And if you think, oh, maybe the parents should do something, guess what? My poor baby boys are immigrants, so their parents don't understand English. So there's no possible way for me as a teacher to do anything related to my class. They won't read books with girls. They insult other girls in the classroom. The only thing that could be done to regulate this behavioral issue in my third grade class is for all of the platforms to simultaneously ban him." All of these people ran those hit pieces, those identical hit pieces, and wouldn't you know it, shortly after that, he was banned. I've also seen this with other unpopular creators, the same seemingly coordinated effort, and I'm using seemingly because, I don't want to be a tinfoil hat type, and then they ended up getting eliminated from the platform, or there was rule changes or similar. This is what tends to happen on YouTube nowadays, and you really should pay attention to these creators because that's how you'll be ahead of the curve. If they all are coordinating, you better assume that they know something that you don't, because they seem to be laying the groundwork for YouTube to do the bans, which, by the way, is a really scummy thing to do. I can't stand when people pull up the ladder behind them. I'm always trying on this channel to promote people like Kirk Wilcox, Alf Benny, Stephen Michael Davis, who are all great channels that you should subscribe to. They're wonderful, but, you know, that's not the attitude of other people. Other people want to just pull it up, not let anybody else succeed, and they do all of this while they talk nonstop about how much they've grown and changed over the years, because of course they've become popular doing edgy content. And what I find interesting about this fake appeal to growth is that they never leave anybody else any room to grow. But anyway, the groundwork was laid related to the transes issues. Also, Matt Walsh, to be clear, and this could be a huge factor, started initiating a boycott against Anheuser-Busch, specifically Bud Light, in relation to Dylan Mulvaney, and this is a company that is a major advertiser, so maybe that has something to do with it. And we found out not too long ago that Matt Walsh was completely demonetized at the cost of $100,000 a month, by the way.
In fact, they did tell us, though, they cited 3. There were a number of violations they claimed. They'd only tell us about 3 of them. All 3 of them, coincidentally, had to do with Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah. Now, I don't know, just coincidentally, YouTube decided you're not allowed to say anything about Dylan Mulvaney. YouTube has decided that I'm not allowed to use biologically accurate language when discussing Dylan, or presumably any other trans-identified person. And for what it's worth, it doesn't seem that other channels are being held to this standard right now. So we were told by sources at YouTube that a decision to target our channel had come from the highest levels of the company. And they're looking for something, a reason to take us out. Now, of course, there is a way out of this jam. You know, the big tech, they're very generous, and they'll give you a potential off-ramp. So if I simply respect the preferred pronouns and I stop accurately gendering people, then I can likely continue to do my show on the platform. I can get it remonetized after, a short probationary period. And I can continue making over $100,000 a month on YouTube ads.
But to be clear, he was not the only one. Sarah Gonzalez, the other day, reported that she had 3 videos removed from her channel. And by the way, I've been on her show. It's called News and Why It Matters. It's over at The Blaze. So they got hit. Tim Pool had 2 videos removed. And The Quartering just reported that an entire stream in his Community Notes podcast, which is on their Community Notes channel, was removed due to the fact that they were allegedly bullying. And I believe he has an individual video also removed. So the crackdown is here, and it appears to be related specifically to content that is about Dylan Mulvaney, who, by the way, is the most beautiful, stunning, and brave person ever in the history of ever, in case YouTube wanted to know my position on Dylan. Just so impressed. Like, I'm just wowed by this person, and I will buy all of the Bud Lights going forward as long as YouTube is listening to this portion of the video. And by the way, a lot of these people are major notable people that I'm mentioning because likely you will know them, but when I was tweeting about how I was right, I predicted these rule changes coming, Lydia, who used to be the producer over at Timcast IRL, actually replied telling me that she had a video from months ago that was removed, but thankfully she didn't get a strike. That's the thing, is YouTube is not only cracking down on transes related topics, but they're also assigning strikes on policies that they're clearly and obviously enforcing retroactively. So what we're seeing is a coordinated attack being justified by creators that are pulling the ladder up behind them in order to narrow the confines of acceptable political debate. That's what's going on. That's what I predicted because I saw the signs, and it's only going to get worse from here. It's only going to get more limiting from here. And while you might think it's absurd that YouTube and all these major platforms are bending over backwards in order to serve multi-millionaires that are endorsed by major corporations like Dylan and whoever Mr. Beast's friend's name is, But the thing is that you don't realize is that their lives are significantly harder than your lives, even if you're a homeless person, because you don't have to deal with the things that they have to deal with, like it being invited to the White House and being endorsed by all these major corporate brands, whether that seems like a sensible endorsement or not, and being paid millions of dollars and being lifted up and invited to all these high-end dinners and being praised undyingly by the media and having people censor other people who criticize you on your behalf. You cannot possibly understand that struggle. You should be ashamed for even assuming that you could understand that struggle. And as long as you're somebody who identifies as the gender you were born, even if you're homeless, the mere fact that you would dare make eye contact with these literal gods means you're absolutely scummy and worthless. We should all worship the stunning and brave behavior. We should all buy product, consume product that is endorsed by these people. And any even thought about criticizing these individuals should be shamed out of our society, should be eliminated, should be completely torn up and thrown asunder, because that's the way that things have to be. That's the way that things need to roll. And by the way, I also want to point out that a lot of this is leading up to the release, or the supposed, maybe eventually we will get the release of the manifesto of the perpetrator in that incident over in Nashville. And I think one of the reasons why that we might be getting this weird setup for that situation is because that manifesto is not going to reflect positively on the people who are often criticized by people like Matt Walsh, who, by the way, is disgusting and horrible for daring ever in his life to not bow down to Dylan. Just a horrible, disgusting man that I totally denounce and reject, and 100% am not in favor of, because, you know, again, you can't even look in the eyes of these gods. That's the way it should be on our society. Please don't hurt me, YouTube. I'm totally on board with the agenda. But yeah, I can't help but realize that there's been all this additional scrutiny related to this topic, even though the perpetrator in that incident was somebody who identified as, you know, the god tier class that shall not be named throughout the rest of this video. Now look, overall, while I do think it is very important, and I applaud Walsh for making the stance that he's not going to compromise his message, I will say that you as a creator out there, or as an audience member, should not expect other creators to fall on the sword. There are ways to work around this type of censorship. One of the things that I just don't typically do in my personal life, so it's not reflected in my YouTube channel, that will actually protect you going forward, is not calling people names. And also, if you don't want to use somebody's preferred, you know, god tier pronouns that we should all respect and bow down, then shame on you. One of the ways to get around that is to refer to that person by their name, their actual name. So that way you're not compromising to the lefty position, but you're also not getting banned just for saying he or she over and over again, which obviously is going to be a red flag against the YouTube.com. You could talk about the fact that YouTube seemingly has this misgendering policy, as Matt Walsh outlined. That is likely what he was banned for, without actually eliminating yourself from the arena. I think it's really important, and people really do underestimate the value of being in the fight, being in the arena, because once you're out, you may be able to survive if you're at like a Daily Wire or something like that, but not everybody has those options. I mean, I'm on the podcasting platforms, just got up on Google, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple, I'm also on Rumble, I'm also on Odyssey, and I have to be honest, the audience does not translate over there. I have my website, actualjusticewarrior.com/join, where you guys can sign up and support the channel.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And by the way, comparatively, a lot of people have actually signed up, and you guys are really supporting the channel and getting early access to my videos via the secret video page. I do actually really appreciate that, and that has been a genuinely pleasant surprise for me so far, so I really appreciate that. But the thing is, if I were to be taken out of YouTube, I would lose a huge portion of my reach, of my audience, and all of that. So I have to work within the system, and a lot of us, even the ones that pretend that they're the ultra go-hards, the real ones, the only true defenders of whatever position they're advocating for, also have to do so in similar ways. Not everybody has a Rumble deal, I'm just saying. Some of us weren't even ever contacted by Rumble, nor were we offered a Rumble deal, and when we look at our revenue generation for all the views we got on Rumble, we're at around $3 for the total amount of views throughout the entire history of our run over there. So, you know, I'm just saying, before you expect everybody to jump ship, you have to understand that this is where the general audience is, this is where the growth still is, and we can also go on Rumble, and if you prefer to watch me on Rumble or listen to me via podcast or whatever, that is all available and linked under the description of every single video on this channel. But yeah, the crackdown is here, it is real, and if you don't want to be blindsided by this kind of thing, just pay attention to those key creators and what they're talking about, and specifically when they start seemingly coordinating their news reporting. When they start coordinating their hit pieces, somebody's in trouble or there's going to be a rule change. That's just the pattern that I've noticed. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the crackdown coming and how I predicted it. Till next time.